There is a different kind of tension around the Chargers right now, because this team has already shown it can win a lot of regular season games. But that January scar is still sitting there. Herbert does not need more pretty talk. He needs structure, protection, quick answers, and an offense that stops forcing him to perform miracles every single week. And today, this conversation runs through McDaniel, a possible veteran weapon, Quentin Johnston, and rookies getting signed. Hit that like button, subscribe, and feel this shift with me. Now, the first story has to be felt before it gets explained. The Chargers have reached that point where 11 wins no longer buy patience. It hurts to say it, but it is the truth. The regular season is not the main argument anymore. Los Angeles has had 2 strong years, looked serious again, looked competitive, looked physical. But when the calendar got tight and January arrived, the whole conversation changed. And that is why Mike McDaniel is not stepping into this story as just another offensive coordinator. He is stepping in as a real attempt to change Justin Herbert's future. Gennaro Felice from NFL.com looked at this offseason and pointed directly at that. Yes, the Chargers made targeted moves. Tyler Biadasz for the middle of the offensive line, Charlie Kolar as a blocking tight end, Akeem Messidor to get after the quarterback, Jake Slaughter coming in to strengthen the guard spot. All of that matters. All of that feels like Jim Harbaugh. But the name that makes this fan base start dreaming bigger is McDaniel, because he touches the part of this team that hurt the most, how the offense works when the game stops feeling comfortable. And look, I cannot treat this like some cold technical detail. Herbert is 0-3 in the playoffs. That number sits on his back. It sits in the national conversation. It sits in every debate where somebody tries to shrink an unbelievable quarterback just because the team has not kicked down the biggest door yet. But anybody who really watches knows this. A lot of the time, Herbert did not lose because he lacked talent. He lost because he had to carry too much, improvise too much, and survive too much. When your quarterback is stuck in 3rd and long, pressure is coming, routes are not separating, and the defense knows where the ball has to go, even a special arm can start to look boxed in. That is where McDaniel can change the whole temperature. The excitement is not just about the creative run game, even though that is already huge with Harbaugh in the building. The bigger point is building an offense that breathes before the snap, uses motion to reveal coverage, gives cleaner answers, cuts down the hits, and protects Herbert without taking away his aggression. Harbaugh has already talked about the scheme helping limit sacks. To me, that is music to every Chargers fan who has watched Herbert pick himself up off the ground way too many times. Right now it is talk, design, and expectation. But there is a difference between empty hype and a signal that actually makes sense. And this signal makes sense. If McDaniel turns this offense into something lighter, faster, and sharper in the details, the Chargers will not just be chasing better numbers. They will be trying to free Justin Herbert from that unfair role of lone savior. And when you talk about freeing Herbert, that uncomfortable question shows up immediately. Does this receiver room already have everything it needs? Or is it still missing one dangerous grown-up in the room? Because Stefon Diggs is still sitting on the market, and I know that kind of possibility makes Chargers fans pause for a second. It is not only the resume, it is the type of problem he can still create when the ball has to come out on time. Diggs is not officially tied to the Chargers right now, but the market logic is sitting there. He cleared a major off-field situation, and after that, he remains available. For a team that already has youth, speed, upside, and developing pieces, the question becomes heavy. If the price drops into a manageable range, should Los Angeles really look away? Or should somebody at least pick up the phone? I would pick up the phone. No panic, no wild bidding war, but yes, I would absolutely pick it up. Because Herbert does not just need bodies running routes, he needs answers. He needs someone who understands leverage, who can sell a break with his hips, who knows how to attack a corner's blind spot, who does not panic when the game gets ugly and the stadium starts to feel heavy. Diggs built his career on separation, competitiveness, and showing up in big moments. And for a quarterback like Herbert, that carries emotional and strategic value. You are not just adding a target, you are adding a way to settle the offense down when a defense tries to turn everything into chaos. Now, the delicate part is that the Chargers cannot act like one signing fixes every problem. This roster is trying to build an identity with McDaniel, develop young names, and keep flexibility. Ladd McConkey has to grow. Quentin Johnston has to prove consistency. Trey Harris, Keandre Lambert-Smith, Brennan Thompson, and Oronde Gadsden II have to find real space. If Diggs came in, it would need to be in a smart role, with snaps that lift the efficiency of the offense, not with drama taking control of the room. But think about the right scenario. 3rd down, Herbert reading pressure, McDaniel using motion to force the defense to declare coverage, Diggs isolated against a defender who knows he cannot miss the first step. Suddenly, the offense has a layer of craft that this group may still be missing. And that kind of detail is what separates a fun September team from a team built for January. That is why this story hits me. Not because the Chargers are forced to chase Diggs, but because that opportunity window is sitting there, breathing in the corner of the market. If the price gets too high, move on. But if it drops, man, Los Angeles has to at least check the temperature. But before we dream about any outside piece walking through the door, there is one name already inside the building who can change everything if he finally crosses the line from promise to real force. Quentin Johnston. And this is one of those stories that splits the fan base, because nobody looks at Johnston and says the physical tools are missing. The size is there, the explosion is there, the vertical threat flashes. The issue has always been the part that decides careers in the NFL, turning flashes into routine. The Chargers showed faith in him by picking up his fifth-year option, projected around $18 million for 2027. That is not a small gesture. But at the same time, Mike McDaniel's arrival changes the kind of pressure on him. Johnston is not going to get a major role just because he was a high pick, just because he has talent, or just because the franchise wants to prove an old point. In this offense, he has to earn the coordinator's trust snap by snap, route by route, and week by week. And then came the part that made a lot of people raise an eyebrow. McDaniel compared traits in Johnston's game to powerful, explosive receivers he has worked with before, naming Julio Jones and Andre Johnson. Take a breath for a second. That is not just some random comparison tossed into the air. McDaniel worked with Julio in Atlanta during all pro-level years, and he was also around Andre Johnson in Houston during the prime of a dominant receiver. When a coach with that background looks at Johnston and sees similar traits, you cannot just brush that aside. But we also cannot pretend everything is solved. Johnston started last season on fire, with 337 yards and 4 touchdowns in his first 4 games, and then disappeared for long stretches before waking back up in Week 16. Part of that came from the rise of Oronde Gadsden II and Trey Harris in Greg Roman's scheme. Part of it came from Johnston's own inconsistency attacking the ball and sustaining production. That is exactly where McDaniel could be decisive, not to shield Johnston from pressure, but to place that pressure in better situations. If this scheme creates space, rhythm, and planned explosive plays, Johnston can stop being that frustrating what if and become a piece that truly hurts defenses. But he has to embrace it. He has to play like someone who understands the door is open, but it will not stay open forever. And I want to feel the fan base's read on this. Do you still believe Quentin Johnston can become the dominant receiver in this offense? Or do you already think he should be viewed as a complementary piece? And the fourth story may look smaller on the surface, but to me it feels like a team being built the way Harbaugh likes it. On Friday, the Chargers started signing their 2026 draft class and got deals done with 5 of their 8 picks. Travis Burke, Genesis Smith, Nick Barrett, Logan Taylor, and Alex Harkey are already in that process as rookie minicamp begins. Akeem Mesidor, Jake Slaughter, and Brennan Thompson remain unsigned for now. Now, a casual fan might look at that and think, normal offseason paperwork. But it is not just paperwork when you look at the profiles. Burke, a 4th-round pick, arrives as an aggressive blocker, the kind of player who fits the identity Los Angeles is trying to build. He is going to compete with Trey Pipkins for the swing tackle role, and that battle is way more important than it sounds. Because nobody wants to talk about backup offensive linemen until the Sunday when an injury forces that player to protect Justin Herbert. Then suddenly, that little detail becomes a full-blown emergency for the entire fan base. Genesis Smith catches my attention for another reason. He comes in as a deep safety, a single high type of player, and that could help free Derwin James to live closer to the line of scrimmage, where he changes the energy of the defense. Derwin near the action means hits, instincts, presence, and controlled chaos. If Smith can bring depth and youth to a group that needed it, the impact does not stay attached only to his name. He can change the way the entire defense breathes. Nick Barrett enters as a more specific interior piece, with a nose tackle profile, and he should compete for rotation snaps with names like Tier Tart, Jamari Caldwell, and Dalvin Tomlinson if Chris O'Leary wants to keep that front fresh. That matters because a physical defense does not live only on pretty starters on paper. It lives on rotation, legs, heavy bodies in the fourth quarter, and players who can absorb contact without the structure breaking down. And then come Logan Taylor and Alex Harkey, 2 names that may not light up headlines, but carry exactly the kind of value a long season demands. Depth and versatility on the offensive line. Guard, tackle, adjustment, emergency, competition. After watching injuries wreck plans so many times, the Chargers seem to understand that protecting Herbert is not a promise. It is an obsession that has to show up at the bottom of the roster too. Altogether, this group of signings says something about a franchise trying to avoid old mistakes. More bodies up front, more youth on the back end, more options to survive when the season starts ripping pieces out of the original plan. That does not win games in May, but it can absolutely save games in December. In the end, it all comes back to the same feeling. The Chargers are not just adding names. They are trying to fix the story before it repeats itself. McDaniel could be the key to getting Herbert out of survival mode. Diggs, if the market allows it, would be a bold move that changes the ceiling. Johnston carries the chance to become the internal answer. And the signed rookies show that Harbaugh wants to win in the invisible details too. This season is going to demand guts, adjustment, and ice-cold decisions. If you want to follow every move in Los Angeles with a fan's heart and a game watcher's eye, subscribe, hit the like button, and stay right here. Go Bolts!